My next guest does not need an introduction. It is the American gangster Chael Sonnen, who's going to be taking on Quinton Rampage Jackson at Bellator 192 on January 20th for the heavyweight tournament. Chael, how are you today?
What's happening, my brother? I'm doing great. How are you? That's what matters.
Well, I appreciate you asking. I'm doing well. It's a little cold here in Toronto, Canada. I'm sure not as good as the weather you're getting in Portland, Oregon.
You know what? It's been all right lately. It was almost 50 degrees yesterday. We had a pretty cold, like over Christmas. We had a white Christmas, first time in many, many years. But yeah, it's warmed back up a little bit.
Yeah, I was surprised. I'm actually from Vancouver, Canada originally, and I was there for the holidays, and we got snow. That like never happens in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, some people complain about it. I love it. I like a total disaster. I wish we had 2 feet. I have no idea how people complain about it. Man, people act so weird in snow. There's people that are shoveling their driveways out. Listen, if your car is so lousy that if you put it in reverse and hit the gas and it can't pull over some snow, you shouldn't be driving in that weather, man. Just stay home.
Yeah, and I know the other thing in Portland is people are complaining about having to pump their own gas. Have you seen this, all the outcry?
Yeah, people should be complaining about that. I'm stunned about that. I guess we're one of the only states where you can't pump your own gas, I guess, and now that's changed. And I don't know why it changed. I thought it was a good law, man. You pull up, somebody makes some money. I don't know why we took their jobs.
I was talking about Christmas, and I know Christmas came early for you this year because you had a daughter, earlier in the month. How has that been? And, especially heading into this fight, it must be giving you a nice boost.
Yeah, thank you very much. Little Priya arrived on December 4th, and she's great. Her schedule's flipped, though. She sleeps all day and parties all night. So if we could just change that so her mother and I could get a little bit of rest. But we'll do it her way, man. Whatever she wants to do, we'll do it her way.
I read somewhere that you actually enjoy children screaming and crying. Is this true? Because you kind of want them to be vocal.
Yeah, well, I don't mind. There's some parents, as soon as that baby cries, it freaks them out. But I waited a long time to hear that sound. So, no, for me, it was soothing. I didn't mind in the least. You got to speak up around here, man. If you want something, you got to ask for it sometimes.
And how has it been, having 2 kids? Because I know that always adds a little bit of extra, kind of time restraints and everything else. Have you been adjusting to that quite well?
Yeah, two's fine. I mean, the only change for me that I've really noticed is when you get ready to go somewhere, you got an extra bag to pack. It takes a little bit longer to get in and out of the car. But no, my cousin has 7 kids, so I don't think I would get away in my family complaining about 2.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Now, off the top, I mentioned it there, you're taking on Rampage Jackson, which is a fight I know you've wanted for a while. What was sort of the reason as far as why you wanted to fight him for so long?
Well, I'd have to go back many years. Where it all started, I can't remember. Rampage said something or I said something and he responded, whatever it was. But, it was enough heat for me to want to fight. But, yeah, Dana tried to get involved. He tried to make us the coaches of an Ultimate Fighter. We were going to do that match. And I can't remember what all happened, but it never came around. And then as far as it happening right now is, it's a tournament. It doesn't really come from animosity. Neither will my next fight. I just had somebody ask me, hey, if you beat Rampage, you're going to call out Fedor. But it doesn't work that way. This is a tournament. Rampage and I are on one side, Frank Mir and Fedor are on the other side of the bracket, and whoever advances, advances. So, any kind of animosity or personal grudge that I would have for a traditional style match, it has nothing to do with this. It's a tournament, and wherever the draws come, the draws come. I'm a tournament guy, man. I love that. You don't need to tell me. You don't even need to separate. I wish we were doing it all in one night.
Yeah, it is a really great idea, and I think it's definitely getting some excitement in that division. Now, Rampage has returned to Bellator. He hasn't fought that often, but he's had the 2 fights against Ishii and King Mo. What were your thoughts on sort of his performances in those fights with him coming back to Bellator?
I didn't get to see Ishii, but I used to train with him. I know he's a tough guy, so Rampage beating him meant something to me. And then the King Mo fight, I did get to see that one. I was even the commentator for it. I've used that, like when I watch some Rampage footage. That seems to be the fight that I keep going to because it was most recent. Rampage is just a dangerous guy. He's a mean, rough, tough guy. He's big and strong. He's not a martial artist. He doesn't have belts and disciplines and all of that crap. And that's a compliment to him as far as I'm concerned. But he is a fighter, and he's got a fighter's heart. And I've seen him out there a few times where I thought, this guy doesn't look like he's in very good shape. But I've never seen him quit. I've always seen him push through. He's always got one more big spurt in him. So, he's somebody I respect. He's a former world champion for a reason. But he's not me.
And as far as training camp, who have been some of your main training partners helping you get ready for Rampage?
I trained at Gracie Baja in Portland. To name drop some people that you would know, Paige Van Zandt. I've never sparred with Paige. I'm just dropping her name because I know you would recognize it. But you would know Ed Herman, who's been one of my longest teammates. Jake Smith, who's making his Bellator debut the week after I fight Rampage. Tyree Fortune, 18-1, also making his Bellator debut. It's probably the toughest team I've ever been part of. I mean, I could go on and on with who's there, but a lot of them haven't broke through yet. The best fighter I've ever seen is one of my teammates named Ricky Simone.
Won the LFA title. I'm very familiar with him, actually. Just beat Chico Camus. Title.
Yeah, and Chico's tougher than hell, and Ricky's something special. So we got all the right bodies, but I don't know that I could impress you by just dropping their names right now like maybe I could. In the old day when I was at Team Quest, we had 3 UFC champions in the room on any given day.
Well, it is interesting. You train with a lot of up-and-comers. One of them I also talked to was Austin Vanderford, who was coming off a win in Victory. How has that been, sort of being a mentor and coach to these up-and-coming fighters and seeing them sort of progress in their careers?
Yeah, and thanks for mentioning Austin. New teammate of mine. He came up in 2017, and he's so tough. He works so hard.
Great wrestler.
3-4 workouts a day, every day, and we'll see how long he can hold that pace. But, he's a young guy, and he's very motivated right now. I don't see myself as that. I think you call me a mentor is probably a bigger compliment than I would give myself because I can remember my mentors, and I don't know if those guys look at me that way or not. But I just go through the process. I just go in there and train every day. I do whatever the coach asks of me, and I go home. And my coach is a former teammate of mine, Fabiano Scherner. We were Team Quest teammates, and he's known Rampage for a long time. He's been in there with Mir and Roy Nelson, and he's great. So I'm with a new gym, but it's a lot like the old Team Quest days. Again, my former Team Quest teammate is now my head coach.
And how do you see this fight playing out on January 20th?
Well, I don't think about the fight too much because you have to understand the big unknown for me, the part where I get, apprehensive or my anxiety goes up is I never fought at heavyweight. And I've worked out with plenty of heavyweights, so I know what I'm getting into. Even in my wrestling days, my main workout partners, Eric Webb or Rich Polkinghorn, these guys were the heavyweights. I was the next biggest size, 197 pounds, but I never entered a tournament at heavyweight. So I don't know. Some of my techniques just flat don't work when you hit them on a guy that's that big. I've even found that in the practice room. I can hit my best techniques on a guy that's much less experienced than me. And some of those, you got to go to plan B and plan C. So that's a little bit of an excitement too. Anytime you get into something that you haven't done before, I've been doing a lot of grappling lately, and it's just a different feel. There's a bit of an excitement to that unknown, a bit of an excitement to that fear factor of what can happen. And so I don't know. As far as with Rampage, I can tell you this: I trained really hard. I'm in really good shape. I'm gonna push him the second they say go. I will. And if he's got an answer for it, then God bless him.
Before I let you go, one thing I had to talk to you about is pro wrestling, because I know there's a lot of influence in pro wrestling and what you do. Do you still watch the WWE? And if so, is there sort of a favorite wrestler that stands out to you right now?
I like Chris Jericho just because he always changes his character and adapts it. About every 12 months he makes a little tweak, and at 47 years old still keeps himself extremely relevant. It's a hard thing to do. A lot of guys come out and they're a flash in the pan, even in MMA, and they don't understand how to extend that career. They miss that psychological aspect of getting through the crowd. So I really admire him for that. I don't watch it very much. If there's a WrestleMania, I usually go to it live. If they come to Portland, I usually go live. But I don't sit down and watch Monday nights, no.
I imagine you watched Jericho's fight for New Japan, I take it.
Yeah, I watched him take on Omega, man. I thought it was great on both parts. I thought Omega was great, too. It was a good matchup.
And you do color commentary for Bellator, and I know that you've also done some color commentary for wrestling back in the day. I believe it was GFW back in 2015 with Cyrus Freeze, who I actually know quite well. Any interest in doing that again? Yeah,
Cyrus is a great dude, by the way. Good talent as well. I had a lot of fun doing that. That was with Jeff Jarrett. I mean, Jeff Jarrett was kind of my contact to that world, and he's right now stepped down a little bit, so I don't know what I'll do. I got asked to actually wrestle for Impact a few times, but I probably prefer the commentary gig. I'm not as big of a wrestling fan as sometimes I get made out to be. I was when I was a kid. I was into the Demolition, the greatest tag team ever, who the Road Warriors ripped off, and that'll piss some people off, won't it? And Of course, Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior. So, I go all the way back to the 80s, but that's also kind of where I left it.
Did you watch that 30 for 30 on Ric Flair, and if so, did you like it?
Yeah, I did watch it. I was in it, as a matter of fact. I just had a real quick part in it, but I liked it a lot. I learned some stuff about him. Some of it I was a little disappointed with. Flair was a bit of a wild man, and but he had a great career, and I really appreciated his candidness and giving us that insight. I thought it was a really good piece.